Okay, there's one order of business that we have to discuss before I begin this review, and that is, why did I not know that Serge Tankian did a Reigns of Castamere cover? Or I don't know what you want to... Why didn't I know that existed? Why didn't I know about this until like 2 days? I screamed out loud. I clicked on it. I've typed in Reigns of Castamere so many times. I've heard a billion different versions of it. And what? And it's great. I really was like, oh my god, no. Like, even when I was like, this makes so much sense. It just, oh my, get off this video and go watch that and go listen to that and then come back. It's so good. Okay, guys, so I'm Abby with Motor City Nerds, and we're gonna review and spoiler warning whatever for episode 8 of House of the Dragon. This really kicked me right in the gonads of feelings. If you can't tell, I've been crying, like, this whole time, so we're gonna try this again. Because, if you've been over on the channel, you know that, my dad passed away when I was 6, and my uncle essentially was like my dad. And he recently passed, and this really kicked me in the gonads of feelings, you know? But you got like a real feel for this family, and fucking A, god damn it. Alright. Nope. Okay, are we good now? I think we're gonna be good. Anyway, I was saying from the jump that I was really interested to see the Targaryen slice of life stuff because this is such an intimate story, and we get to see that with the Starks, especially, not a ton, but we get to see them act more like a family unit, and we get to just know their quirks and stuff, like as siblings, and we see Arya and Jon, and we know who's tight, we know who's not, and we just know the vibe of this family, and I was curious to see how House of the Dragon would handle that and say, like, okay, well, who's in this for power? Who's in this because they love somebody or care about them or genuinely want to do right by their family? Like, how much is going to be that? And I was really curious to see that. And I feel like this episode really nailed it because I've been saying, like, shit. Hobart, do something cute, man. You are cute. And how much was going to be, I want the throne, I want power, this, that, and the other. And we really got it with this episode, and we really got, we find out that both these women think that they are given this purpose by this dying king. Like, Rhaenyra has been hearing about this prophecy, and then by the end of the episode, he's confused talking to Alicent. So now she thinks it's about her and her son. So now they both have purpose, and they try to redeem everybody a little bit. But at the same time, I still hate the Hightowers. It is what it is. It's not going to change people. But I loved this. And this is something these directors excel at, and we've been talking about it, is these directors do a really, really good job with the group stuff. Like action, groups, anything with large crowds and the whole room is filled up, they really excel at. And this nailed all of that, and like I said, it was just something I was really curious about going into this. I talk about it in my other videos that were before the show aired, and I really wanted, this really knocked it out of the park. And the whole time I've been saying, I felt a little like Viserys might scheme against Daemon, but that these two genuinely love each other like brothers. Like, that's why Daemon getting with Rhaenyra is pissing it's upsetting Viserys, because he's like, you're my brother, like, we're tight, and they really got that across to the audience. And now, if you've been getting this vibe, let me know, because this is the vibe I've been getting, and I've talked about it, is that Rhaenys, Corlys's wife, my favesies, the queen who never was, half Baratheon, all day, every day, on the block by myself. I love the Baratheons, I don't care, but either way, I think her and Viserys genuinely had a tight cousin relationship. Not a weird one, not a weird Targaryen one, but, like, they were genuinely each other's favorite cousin. And I loved opening the episode with her sitting on the Driftwood throne, and Aemond, Corlys's brother, is like, Corlys is jacked up, got his throat slit. I started calling it blood fever, but it's just an infection. Like, it's just an infection. But coming from somebody who's almost died from infections, they're very serious. So, but this is olden times where people died of diarrhea, so you never know, you know. But I liked it opening with her, and we have the uncle, so Corlys's younger brother, really arguing for the throne, and part of me is like, no, I feel you, my dude. But the other part of me is like, I love how we get to see this grandma-granddaughter relationship. We almost never get that. And I really liked how, if you notice, each one of her grandkids look to her before responding. And even when they're in the by the werewood, I don't know if we're calling it a god's wood. I don't know about that. We're not going to go that far with it, King's Landing. But... And, there's a drop for that. There's an Easter egg for that. Jace says it in Valerian. He's like, they tore all the trees out. But either way, hey, what am I saying? Both of the granddaughters look to Rhaenys before responding. And even in front of that werewood, when Rhaenyra's like, can I speak to the princess alone for a minute? You see, right before she leaves the frame, she stops and looks over, like, checking on her grandma. Like, you can tell that they're protective of her, but they're also looking to her for how they're being raised. And I think that they should get... the Driftmark, you know what I mean? I'm like, I want them to get it, but then I also know how the story goes, so I'm like, god damn it, and I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, I feel that. I'm like, okay, well, why shouldn't the uncle doesn't even acknowledge the girls, if you notice. It's like they don't exist. So I liked that she's kind of like, it's not ideal, but it would still technically be his bloodline through them, so cut the shit. I think I know what he would want more, and that's why I wanted them to establish even more. I think we definitely know that this couple love each other from the show, but this is I don't think they get it across as hard that Corlys and Rhaenys genuinely love each other very much. So she would want to respect her husband, and I think that she genuinely is like, I do feel this way, but I know what he would want too. We have an Evenfall name drop, where that's where she asked where they got the Raven from. They said Evenfall. That's the island that Brienne of Tarth is from. It's in the Stormlands. But I will say this. Eve Best was really killing it on that throne. Rhaenys, the queen who never was. She was really holding her own up there. And when she was saying, like, careful, this stuff you're talking could be treason, and thank you to this episode, because I've been screaming this from the mountaintops. I'm like, stop, we are back in time, like over 100 years, and why are we acting like they're more progressive then? It's like, do you remember Ned Stark? You can't go running around calling people bastards and shit. You're gonna die for that. So I was waiting for that to have some serious repercussions. And finally, people are reiterating to the audience how important, like, you can't be talking that shit here. And when even at Driftmark, Rhaenys is like, careful. My cousin, the king, and I love how they cut to Dragonstone after this, was when he's like, it's not the king who rules, it's the queen, meaning that Alicent's really running the show. And we'll get to that, because I loved that, the switch up into religion. That's so smart to do. But either way, she's like, careful how you're talking, don't get this twisted, remember the family I'm a part of, and you need to cut the shit, Vaemond, cut the shit over there. And I liked seeing somebody drop that, like, remember what you're saying. Because then later on in the episode, and did you notice that she said, my cousin the king would have your tongue out for that. And when he spouts off his shit, Daemon takes everything but his tongue. And I'm like, oh my god, I love it. I love it, and it was awesome. And Bela does try to defend her grandma. But like I said, the uncle's, like, not acknowledging her really at all. And then he doesn't even bring them up in conversation. He's not even like, yeah, you know, they matter. Not at all. But this is what I mean. If they would, I know that we see that they love each other, but this is a couple with Corlys and Rhaenys that genuinely love each other very much and would take offense to you shit-talking them. I think that Rhaenys was, like, genuinely sympathetic to Vaemond and going like, this is my family too, until he started shit-talking Corlys. Then she was like, oh yeah, I forgot I run this shit. Get the fuck back. How about that? Want me to get my dragon in here? Because we can just make that happen. Oh my god. Oh, and by the way, the royal family here backs me, because you're acting a fool out here. Constantly. What did Laenor call him? It was great. It was like Captain of Complaints. Master of Complaints. I was like, icon. Laenor, iconic. I love it. The Master of Complaints. All you've been is the Master of Complaints. Okay, so questions. Was this the same cave that Dany and Jon were in? Because we cut over to Dragonstone, and we see some guck, and you're like, what's happening here? And then we see some eggs pop out of it, and we're like, oh, snap. Dragon eggs popping out of their little nest holes in the volcanic ground. And Daemon is personally snatching them up. So it's like, oh, this is something that matters very much to Daemon, and it's also really strong metaphor for, like I've been saying, you're a dragon. Are you a sheep? No, you're a dragon. Be a dragon. So all these Targaryens that are accepting what they are there's a lot of symbolic stuff happening through their clothes. Like, Rhaenyra's in all red when we first see her. It's just a big statement, and seeing Daemon pulling these eggs up himself is really symbolic, and I liked that a lot. But I want to know if that's the same cave that is at the Dragon Glass that they mine for Jon Snow. I want to know. And then we see those. Who dictates these Valyrian scholars hatching these eggs? Are we vetting them? Do they get a background check? How do you get that job? I feel like that's a really specific skill set, hatching dragons, speaking only Valyrian and shit. I feel like there's not a lot of that going on. So I'm just like, how? Wouldn't you start sticking your own family into that, like how they do with religion? And we'll get to that. Like, if you watched Vikings or know history, like, we'll stick you in the church because that's just another arm of power. So it's like, why aren't more of you doing the dragon hatching? And how do you get that job? How much are they being paid? You can't trust these people. I don't know. Maybe there's more about them, but either way, I just want to know, how do they get that job, and do they get background checks? I think they need them. But we hear them talking to Daemon, and they give him a scroll saying that you got to come to King's Landing. We got beef over who's getting Driftmark. We're having a petition to the king, and Daemon's like, all right, fine, let's go. And Viserys is all about it. And like I said in my last review, he's giving big mom at Thanksgiving energy of like, can we all just get along here? And I think he genuinely wants that, and I think he genuinely wants that for the good of the realm. He truly believes this prophecy. Oh, Jace is trying, the oldest of Rhaenyra's kids is trying real hard to learn High Valyrian. He's working real hard at that, and this is what I'm talking about. What is he, the sentence he messes up, what, I have it wrote down. Aegon ordered trees should be killed. And then Rhaenyra corrects him and says, felled, I think, but either way. The werewoods get torn out of the south. That's why I've been saying, at first I thought they were tricking us and going like, this werewood in King's Landing, I was like, it wouldn't exist. And then I was like, no, it got torn out. And then I was like, no, someone's watching. Because way too many pivotal things are happening right in front of it. Right in view for Bran or Brynden Rivers. The Three-Eyed Raven before Bran was a Targaryen. And he's my favesies. He's Bloodraven. He watches you with 1,000 eyes in one. He's my faves. And he carried Dark Sister, which is also the sword that Daemon carries. But either way, we're getting off topic. But somebody's watching through that werewood. Because at first I was like, no, it's a really good backdrop. It establishes, like, we're in this courtyard, and it looks different enough to the audience that we can have these different sets. You get what I'm saying? And I've been saying that the names and everything are going to get crazy. Now we got Eric's and Eric's. I'll tell you all about that. But anyway, we got way too much happening in front of this werewood. And at first I thought, oh, just pretty scenery. It really works to get things across to the audience easily while you have confusing ass names and wigs going on. But nonetheless, I digress. And the more that happens in front of it, the more I'm like, no, there's totally somebody watching through that. Would you want somebody who was against you to be able to watch you in your home and hear you, and you kind of like pray to it sometimes? You're saying like confessional to this thing sometimes, depending on how children of the foresty you are. And I'm just saying, someone's ripping that thing out by the end of this series. Somebody's ripping that werewood out, because there's no way. That's what he said, right? I had the fucking captions on this time, guys. It said that. He was like, the trees are killed. And I'm like, someone's going to pick up that somebody's watching through it and be like, shit, that's a spy. Tear it out. We got Daemon and Rhaenyra talking on Dragonstone, talking about, oh shit, because this is exactly what I'm talking about. It's like a domino effect. You can't just go, this person ain't the heir, because there's a lot more to it than that. It's going like, you're questioning this, now you're questioning this, now you are questioning the monarchy, and then the monarchy is like, no, and it gets real quick. So that's why I'm like, thank you for finally establishing how serious, like, saying these words is. Because this whole time I'm like, people are really just spitting this bastard thing out and just like, let me snatch up your baby. And it's been going down. Like, so I was waiting for that. And now I was like, oh, now we're finally getting to realize the magnitude of saying these things. It doesn't just say he doesn't get Driftmark. It says this person doesn't get this. I don't get the Iron Throne. Then we have a problem. Now you're questioning the monarchy. And like I said, it's a thing. And I was waiting for that other shoe to drop, and they finally did it. And I liked when Daemon said, Rhaenys is not stupid, and she's not cruel. She doesn't want kids to be murdered in their beds, because that's what normally happens, like Joffrey does to all of Robert's bastards. And King Herod did that in the Bible. And yeah, it's when Jesus was born. That's the story of King Herod. And so it's a thing. It's a whole thing. And it's really sad. And I'll describe it this way. It's like when a new male lion takes over a pride, they will kill all the cubs. That way that lion's line no longer continues, and they know that they can have a fresh bloodline for breeding. That's just evolution. So, yeah, I don't want to talk too much about kid hurting and stuff. So, yeah, that's kind of what goes down when you start questioning the monarchy's heirs and stuff. It's not good. So I really liked that we have these moms being protective of their kids, but also going like, we have an identity and we can also want things. And I like that through these characters. Like, no, we have a conflict happening, yes, but both of these characters are going like, I feel a certain kind of way, and I'm trying my best in this way to do better, or at least change a little bit. I don't know how to explain it. We get to King's Landing, okay? And everything's all faded. You can see all the Targaryen banners are fading. And what's moved in? The 7-pointed star. We got religion moving in. The last time that happened, or, well, not the last time it happened, but the last time, Maegor the Cruel, everybody, my favesies. If you know, you know. Maegor the Cruel wasn't putting up with none of that shit. He wasn't a good guy. I'm fully aware. I don't know why I like Maegor the Cruel. I do know, but we can't get into that right now. But either way, yes, religion and groups of people have tried to rise up against the Targaryens more than once, and a couple times it's really, people know how to use it and wield it like a weapon, and when to just PR move it, and that's like what Alicent's doing by replacing all of the Targaryen stuff and all of the dragon stuff with religious stuff. You're going, this is on par with them, you feel me? And she's making it a subconscious and subliminal messaging, essentially. That's what she's doing. She's swapping out all the dragon shit for religious shit, and she's giving the people hope and shit, and that's a problem, and now they have a thing to back them. But like I said, more than once, the faith has been used. They're not going to use the faith like the faith militant like Cersei did. Like I said, the last time that happened, Maegor the Cruel put a stop to it real quick. And, but it is a powerful weapon to be utilized, just like in our world. You can wield it like with a lot of power. If you got, I think in Game of Thrones a couple times you see like one goes to brothels all the time, so they know to blackmail the head clergyman with that, essentially. And with this though, it's like up and poppin', and Alicent's making a real point to be rocking all the religious stuff, really shoving it down our throats this whole episode. But I really loved that's really good storytelling on screen of going like, remember when we had dragons and statues of you guys and flames and all everywhere, and banners were bright black and bright red, and now all of a sudden everything's faded, and the 7 are everywhere, and the 7-pointed star is everywhere, and you're going, what the hell? And Daemon had hands down the best line in this entire series. If you weren't sold on Daemon, this should have sold you. This episode should have sold you, but this line right here, even before he gets to head chopping, this was my favorite part of this entire series. He says it to Alicent, and I'm skipping ahead for a second just to say it. He says, I have no doubt it was the purest mercy, but tell me, did the Maesters also prescribe the removal of Targaryen heraldry and installation in its stead of various statues and stars? I was like, that was so good. It gave me chills. I was like, oh my God, Daemon, that was great. But not only, but like I said, it just goes with the whole, it really knocks it out the park, and Matt Smith is killing it. All that, I like that they've established that Caswell has been on Rhaenyra. This is how I've been explaining it. You know how the American Civil War kind of literally, like, it was north and south, you kind of knew where you stood, you know, like, depending geographically where you were. That's not the case with the Dance of Dragons, which is what's about to go down. That's the story that they're telling, is a civil war between this family. And we knew, like, the big parts, but history is wrote by the winners, so we don't know all the intricacies of these characters as book readers. I use the American Civil War because it's like, okay, North and South. With this, it's like, no, you could go from one castle to another, and someone's going to be on one side and somebody's going to be on the other. This is just all on, like, how you feel morally. And so this really divides the country, and it really causes a lot of damage to Westeros. And not just to Westeros, but to this family. This is the kickoff to, like, the Targaryens falling a little bit. Well, yes. And I think they're doing a really good job of, and I want to applaud them for this, where Game of Thrones was this, and I was worried that this was going to go more like spectacle instead of story, and they haven't done that, I feel like. But I also feel like we get a bit more dragon in there. But either way, I feel like where Game of Thrones was this huge epic that went so far, they've made House of the Dragon this intimate story between these characters, tightly knit in this small area. And I like that about this. And I like seeing it like this. But I do like that like Caswell has always been very respectful of Rhaenyra ever since the beginning of the series. And Beesbury, you can tell at the council in this one, he's got some problems with how they're talking about Rhaenyra's kids' inheritance and stuff like that. You can tell he's like, no, Rhaenyra's the heir. Like, you can tell he feels a certain kind of way. So that's what I mean here. This isn't like these guys versus these guys. This is like my neighbor, literally, doesn't feel the same way as me. So now we're going against each other. Like, this is, it decimates the country. Notable things. We got one of those Lannister twins on the council. Okay, he's there. We have a new maester. You know, I don't like none of them. The ones that go to the north are all right. The rest suck it. Yeah, Beesbury says ability does not choose, because they're trying to find excuses. They're like, do we want a boy with the biggest fleet in the world? Like, are you serious? And he's like, that don't matter. Like I've been saying, you got to have the Ned Stark in there, and we lost that with Corlys, and he better not die off screen, HBO. The sea snake better not die off screen. You let that man die on screen, okay? What I mean by that is, I feel like Corlys was more of that character of going like, no, I'm going to be loyal to my word, and that's what I said. But like a cooler version of Ned, and not the focal point. But you have to have that character that's like that. That's like, we might not like Stannis, but Stannis is the rightful heir if these kids aren't Roberts. That's just how it goes. Like, I'm going to be loyal to what I said, and that's how Corlys would be. But I do think that Rhaenys did the right move. Okay, I know let's just throw these in. I mean, I appreciate it. And there's a nod to it in the never mind, I'm not even gonna get into it, when Olenna Tyrell has twin guards, so that's like a nod to this. But there's a, god damn it, how do I not give this away? I think I see this in the show too, but one of the guards in the King's Guard that comes to get Alicent, she says, okay, Sir Eric, and with an A-R-R-Y-K, and then later on in the episode, or he says, I'm Eric. It's one or the other. It's one's with an A, one's with an E. And yeah, no, they, even the King's Guard, I'll put it this way, is divided on how they feel about who do we back as successor to the Iron Throne. And before we get too far into this, I saw a lot of people Googling and looking up and trying to find out what did Viserys say at the end of the episode. He said, my love. And it's because I think he genuinely loved his first wife. You killed her, but I think that he genuinely loved her. Like, we see him looking at his wedding ring throughout his first wedding band throughout the series. We get him all drunk telling Alicent he would have never remarried if he didn't have to, and he would have never had kids with her if he didn't have to. And I felt bad for her because I was like, you are so knocked up in these woods with this jackass all drunk talking shit to you. I'm so sorry. Oh, so we find out there's an issue with the prince. And that's what I said to my mom. And my mom was like, what? And I go, no. I go, he's out here raping. That's what he's doing. I'm not going to shy away from it. I hate when things do that. That's what he's doing. He's out here being a little rapist. That's what Aegon II is doing. And I was like, ew, I really hate you. And you can tell that Alicent feels really conflicted about dealing with Diana. And I liked that juxtaposition of things. And not the juxtaposition to this tight-knit family getting together, and this small story of the royals. It's like, no, look at how innocent people are being affected, and how this Aegon, since he was jerking in at the window, and like I said, looks down on people like they're objects, and like he's better than them, and then we find out that he's doing stuff like this, and we get the moon tea brought back up, and I'm like, why are we all acting like this moon tea is a secret? The wildlings drink it like it's water. They're like, we don't want to bring kids into this world possibly, so we got this shit on deck. So it's like, why are we just acting like that's such a thing? And I'm like, oh, I mean, I get it. Like, like if you're trying to say a metaphor here of like, that's the choice I didn't have, you gotta make it a little bit more like, if that's what you're trying to say, you need to have like characters say that they feel conflicted about that and not just staring at a bottle. And then I'll go, oh, they feel a certain kind of way about this. But you keep just having characters stare at bottles. So I'm like, yeah, I don't want to have your little rapist baby, you fucking piece of shit. Like, no, give me the tea. And if you feel differently, that's okay. But I'm like, no, fuck that shit. Unless, you're going to die. Either you're going to die or you're going to crank that kid out and they're going to snatch it and then you're going to die. You're not going to end up probably okay. Or, like I've been saying, because of the incest life, they'll die in childbirth, like half the Targaryen women do. And it's sad. And not even Targaryen women. Lyanna Stark, I could keep going. So yeah, no, I'd be slugging that tea. I'd be like, yeah, no, let me get on that. Cool. Get the fuck out of here with your rapist son. And we hear Alicent say, again, and today of all days, so you know your son's a little piece of shit. You know your son is bad. But we also see Alicent, I think she genuinely wants to, like, console this girl. And she's like, I'm sorry that this happened to you. I think she genuinely is like, I am fully aware that my son is a piece of shit, but I'm going to defend him anyway. And I'm going to protect him anyway. But the way she talks to her at first, I'm like, no, I think you genuinely feel for her. But then she's like, and we wouldn't want there to be rumors about you, and we know how girls like you get treated, and it's super sad and super accurate, and it's messed up. But I thought that they handled that really well. And then when she flips back into, I was like, damn, Alicent, that's cold. But she does say to Aegon, and I thought this was interesting because I think this actress is great, by the way. I think she's fantastic. I just don't like the character. And that means she's doing a good job. And I think that she's been doing interviews and she's really funny. But why did you give her a direct Tywin quote? Don't take nothing away from Tywin, okay? When she said, you're no son of mine, I'm like, it's a real big quote from Tywin. He says that like on his death toilet, okay? Don't take no more lines right out of Tywin's mouth. That's not cool. And I feel like you kind of take away from these characters because you're going, oh, remember that other character that's fucking awesome? Remember that other non-Targaryen person who was the hand of the king that overthrew a dynasty? You remember him? Because I love that one. I love Tywin. For some reason, I hate the Hightowers. I don't know. I can't explain the logic to you. Oh, but thank God we've been laughing, because then we got to Rhaenyra and Daemon seeing Viserys. Now, these scenes really jacked me up in a good way, but yeah. So we might just gloss over some things. So if I'm a little bit spacey this review, I apologize, but that's probably why, and I'm detaching. But, yeah, this was hard. And we get introduced to another Aegon. But when she brought Viserys out and was like, and he was like, oh, fuck, man. And he says, that's a name fit for a king. I was like, oh my God. Okay, I don't think it's going to get any better than that, honestly. I've already tried to record this so many times. But Matt Smith Daemon did such a good job of, like, I won't allow myself to think past losing them. I'm just going to keep treating it like I would any other time. And I really liked that. Because that's accurate as fuck. Fuck, man. I don't want to do this on here. But I think this is as good as it's going to get. Oh, fuck. I couldn't watch this episode a third time. I was like, fuck, man. I can't do it. And then I feel like if you don't watch those scenes, it takes away from the impact, like, of the rest of it. But, no, yeah, Matt Smith really killed that, and we're gonna get past that. But we're gonna establish the fact that Daemon kept everything like a report back to his brother still, and it was difficult for him to look at him like that. And throughout the episode, Viserys has a few lines where he says, like, almost as if he's been in pain for a very long time, and that fucked me up too. But it made his passing easier at the end. Either way, Daemon and Rhaenyra, and the way they reacted to him, really helped it hit home later on in the episode. And I really liked that, and I felt like that was really relatable. Even at first, like, Daemon won't go in. Alright, we're fast forwarding through this. Fuck, man. And you gotta remember, too, that, like, this is Daemon's big brother. I liked when Viserys was like, succession and petitions, like, are you serious? He's like, take that shit to Otto, I'm busy. And that's when we find out that Daemon, that's why he smells the cup. He's like, oh, you've been, essentially Milk of the Poppy is like morphine. It's like a super painkiller. It's like an opiate, and so they got him whacked out of his mind, which he possibly might need, but at the same, he's like on hospice, essentially. I liked having Daemon in the scene go, no, you have to. So we had both characters that probably mean the most to Viserys say, like, no, we need you to do this for us. There's a little, I mean, if you know it, you know it. Viserys, Daenerys' brother, so let's say he lived and became king, he would have been Viserys the Third. So, third of his name, not second, so we got a few of them running around. And I'm sorry to everybody ahead of time, because it's about to get crazy. Oh, and one thing I do need to touch on is the fact that Aegon married his sister, Helena. Now, I feel bad for her. She's like a bit of a, she's like a Daenerys the Dreamer. She definitely gets premonitions, and I have a whole theory now about Robert, and I think that he got Targaryen premonitions, but either way, I'll get into that later. She's married to her brother and cranking out his kids, so that's happening. Helena's just been, like, shoved to the side, but I think as a viewer, they want you to think that. Like, they want her to be a second afterthought, like, because that's how she is ranked in her family. So I think that's on purpose, but everything she says is very, it's like fortune tellery, and I like her. She can stay. I like her. And Aegon's a little whiny bitch. I'm never good enough for you and Dad. Oh, I'm sorry. So you can rape ladies? Okay, go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself, Aegon the Second. How about that? Then we get Jace and Luke running around in the yard. They're like, oh yeah, remember this when we were little? Remember that when we were little? But in the background the whole time we see some Legolas-looking ass hair. And then we cut to Aemond One Eye. And this actor, he's doing great. He's giving me a real uneasy vibe, and he should. That's what they want, but he's doing a really good job. I really like that, but I'm also ready for stuff. I don't want to give things away, but I'm ready. But he was great, but I don't like him, obviously, but I think his character's acting is acting real crazy right now, and I can respect that, and I like the way the actor's portraying it. We see that he's a pretty bad motherfucker. We see that this Aemond is pretty bad with it, and Jace and Luke are like, whoa, okay. He's also a little bit older, so that's fair. When Daemon told Alicent, oh, how does he communicate with blinks and wheezes? I really loved that, because you could see Daemon was deflecting back to, I need to be cold and joke about stuff to get through this, and I think that was a little bit of a coping mechanism happening there, and a little introspect into this character, the polite shit-talking between Rhaenyra and Daemon and Alicent. And like I said, how she's going, oh, the faith that really matters. And they're like, yeah, okay, you're just pulling our house to the ground and all of our tradition to the ground, and this show has heavy themes of that. We have the Velaryons enter. Well, the uncle, Vaemond, enters. Rhaenys was already there. And they don't acknowledge Luke, who would be their lord one day. And he's, like, looking at his brother. And I love that Jace said, once again, another thing that is stated all the time in the books, it doesn't matter. When Jace tells Luke, it don't matter. When he's like, I wish I looked more like them, he's like, it don't matter. Because I always love that scene with Cersei and Joffrey, and when she's like, when you sit on the throne, the truth will be what you make it. And when Jaime tells Tommen, you don't answer to nobody, not when you're sitting in that chair. It's very stated. Like, when it comes down to it, we run this shit, okay? The truth is what we make it. They can go fuck themselves. And that's not what Jace says, but that's what he says when he's like, it doesn't matter. That's what he's trying to tell his brother, like, stop worrying about that and focus on this. So I really appreciated that little bit of dialogue between them, and I loved all of the stuff between the... I think they've done a really good job of going, even with the one, I mean, besides the eye getting taken out, I think everybody's been in a situation like that where it's like, these cousins don't get along, and a little scuffle breaks out. I think that was a little vicious, but you know what I mean? Like, that's relatable. Also, having issues with your cousins here, but you can't fight with each other, so you're passive-aggressively shit-talking each other, that's relatable. Is your uncle going to stab you at the table because your brother's married your sister or something? Probably not. But I think we can all relate to, like, man, I really want to come across this table and punch you in the face right now at this holiday. We get Otto and Alicent scheming with the Aemond, with Corlys's younger brother. Then we got Rhaenys and Rhaenyra talking in front of the werewood, and I liked when Rhaenys was like, just because you dangle my grandkid in front of me and do this to soften me up doesn't mean that I don't know that you're playing this game. I've been in King's Landing around this scheming life longer than any of you, and like I said, I genuinely think she means it, and I think Viserys means it when they're like, my favorite cousin. I think that they're some of the only Targaryens not wanting to bang each other and are like, my cousin that I grew up with, like, you're one of the only ones left. Like, what's up, dude? And I think she looks out for him when he comes to Driftmark. She's like, I think the king's tired. She's the one who gets him out of view of everybody when he's not feeling so hot. Rhaenys, I thought, looked genuinely proud of him when he told, but I also think she respects and loves her husband, but I think she was genuinely proud of Viserys when he told Corlys, they will keep the name Targaryen. I think she was like, I respect my husband, but good job, cousin, and I am appreciative of what you're doing over there. And I think they genuinely, and I think that's also why it mattered so much to Viserys when he's like, I think who should speak for Corlys is his wife. Rhaenys, my favorite cousin. But we have her and Rhaenyra talking, and Rhaenyra essentially says, we'll betroth my kids to your grandkids, we'll keep them in power, it's all good, and I can't tell you what happened, but I didn't kill Laenor, and I did love him, and I think that Rhaenys really hit Mom hard in the emotions this episode. And, I mean, she hit me hard, too, when she's just like, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, throughout it. She's not even at the dinner scene at the end. She's like, no. I'm good. Like, I'll throw in my weight where I can, but I'm straight and I'm coming to this dinner. I'm not going to add to it. But we essentially get that Otto and Alicent are going to back Corlys's brother the next day. And then we get the scene of Rhaenyra pleading with her dad to please come and defend her while it storms outside, which was not lost on me, the incoming storm. So it's raging outside, and Rhaenyra sneaks to see her dad and is like, please defend me in person, because like I said, King has last say. I run this shit. And oh my god, when he entered, and I was kind of nervous because, like, I felt like Paddy Constantine, right? I felt like he was giving a kind of, like, I've been calling him a goober. I've been calling Viserys a goober this whole time. I'm like, King Goober. That's how you're going to be remembered. You're just a goober who wants to have nice Thanksgivings and wants everything to be nice, and you're like a mom on the holidays. And I can respect that, but there's some times when you really need to put your foot down, bud, and you didn't. And I appreciate you, but you're being a goober out here. And this one, I was like, wow. And also, do you guys know he's the creepy rapist priest in Peaky Blinders? So for a minute, I couldn't unsee that, and now you can't either. Yeah, go look it up, and then you're gonna be like, oh my fucking god, I remember that face. There's just a wig on it now. And sometimes I catch myself doing that, but he brings like a jolliness to Viserys. But and this must have been really hard to do because even old with no eye, all playing Phantom of the Opera by yourself, all jacked up, you made this character feel regal and respected, walking up to the Iron Throne. And I was like, oh my god, I feel like this is your most kingly ever, that you've depicted this character this entire time, and it's when he's this most weak physically, and that is not lost on me, and very good job to the actor. Oh my god, we get the backs and forths before King Viserys enters, and I was really loving this. But before he enters, we have him refusing milk of the poppy, and Otto Hightower acting like he's way sicker than he is. Like, I know he's dying. Like, obviously he's not doing so hot. But when Otto's like, oh, it's not supper time. It's breakfast. It's the morning. And he's like, plan it, stupid. Remember, the king takes a shit and the hand wipes, okay? Get to it, Otto. Plan dinner, you bitch. I'm sorry. Why do I say things? We have Otto on the Iron Throne. We got Daemon popping off. We have Daemon and Aemond looking at each other. Aemond really scopes out Daemon later on in the episode, but at one point Daemon doesn't stop looking at Aemond, and until it's focused other places. But the whole time, like I said, that actor who's playing Aemond One Eye is doing a really good job of, like, being a creep. In the like, you can tell that he's a psychopath. You can tell that there's nothing else that this character cares about more than hurting another human being. And these are my literal notes. It says, Vaemond pops off. Alicent knows, like, you need to calm it down. You can tell that Alicent's like, you're getting too hype right now, Vaemond. And then we have Rhaenyra with her pledge forward for her son when the door opens. And literally my notes just say, you're fucked. But oh my god, this music, when Viserys said, let me go, and then when his crown fell, I was like, oh shit. And then I was like, my split second thought was, it's going to be Rhaenyra, because Khal Drogo has something similar happen, and she says, I am not a man, you can lean on me. When Daemon picked that fucking crown up, though, because that's what I was like, oh, it's going to be Rhaenyra, and then I was like, oh my god, no, it's not, it's going to be Daemon. I was like, oh, fuck, man. You kicked me right in the fucking face with that, didn't you? Like, right in the... It was like getting kicked in the teeth, and I was just sobbing. I was like, oh, my God. And like I said, I'm just like, man, dude. That's well done. Plus, on top of it, like I said, personal stuff. But, yeah, I was just like, oh, my God. I was like, that's... They love each other. They're brothers. You might have your differences, but at the end of the day, it's like, I got your back, dude. Out of everybody here, I got your back. And I think that's why Viserys is so reliant on Rhaenys towards the end. Because he's like, you're my family. You can step up here, do the right thing by us, you know, like, look out for my family. I'm about to go. Oh, man. You happy, House of the Dragon? You got me. You got me. You got me good. Damn. So everybody who says I'm not a fan can shove it now. But it was so good. It was so good. Because like I said, I was like, oh, it's Rhaenyra. And then I was like, no, it's Daemon, his brother. And I was like, god damn it. And it was just so well done. It was well acted. It was well written. It was well choreographed. It was a really great scene. That was pretty fucking iconic. You're fucked. Why is that in my notes? I'm a lunatic. And I loved this too. Like, Viserys gets real lippy on the Iron Throne, which I appreciate. And you can tell that Viserys as a character, like, there are times when he has inflections in his voice. Like, when he's alone with Alicent in the beginning, he's more relaxed. And then when people enter the room, he's, like, more, if you've read the books, he donned the face of Lord Stark and no longer my father. I liked that the actor was doing that, and I liked that little inflection that he would do. That was really smart. And anytime Viserys has been on the Iron Throne, in particular, you can tell he's been very, like, I'm comfortable here, and I'll talk freely, and I like that about him. And he's more timid when he's not on the Iron Throne. So I love when he was like, did you forget? Did you get this twisted, Vaemond? I think that you are forgetting things. Who runs this shit? I run this shit. I think that Rhaenys should come talk. I loved that, and I loved her being like, you wanna know what? Kind of thought I was really down and out back there, and I really am down and out, but I'm going to take one last swing at this. And she essentially says, I'm going to back Rhaenyra, without saying, I'm going to back Rhaenyra. She's going, well, she's fully aware of what's going on, and I think she's just hoping her granddaughters will be able to hold on to things, you know what I mean? And so she's like, I'll stand with Rhaenyra, my family, my blood, just like you just called on me, Viserys. So these are the sides now. Daemon and Rhaenyra and Rhaenys and the versus Alicent, her dad, and some other people. Her kids are gonna fight Rhaenyra's kids. It's going down, and it's like, oh yeah. You gotta remember that we're in Westeros. It's gonna get rough. I didn't realize that this entire episode, or this, not an episode, that this entire page is just Viserys shit talking. Like, I thought I was on to the next talking point, but I'm like, oh my god, no, he was getting real lippy. When he said, you're no more than a second son, I was like, oh my god, Viserys, you really gotta knock him down like that? Jeez. And then when he turned in and was like, no, they're bastards. This is what I'm talking about. And then Daemon comes in with the head chop after he calls her a whore. But if we notice this, Viserys pulls his dagger first. If Viserys would have been a younger, healthier man, he would have fought Daemon himself, or Aemond himself. But Daemon just so happened to pop in. Like I said, you don't just get to pop off calling people bastards and not heirs to thrones. That's questioning the monarchy. You can't do that. And I've been complaining about that online a lot, where I'm like, why is this so willy-nilly? But now I'm like, no, it's this intimate story more, so it's not as sprawling as Game of Thrones, where these characters are kind of confined to the Red Keep. But I did like them establishing that little bird going back to that brothel, to Daemon's ex-girlfriend. People online were like, I was crazy, and I was like, no, you don't just get to pop off saying that people are bastards, dude. Remember Ned? Where's Ned? Dead. No more Ned. You want everyone to get netted? No. The second Daemon chops his head off, what does Otto do? Disarm him. And he's like, what'd I do? What'd I do? What'd I do wrong here? Because I thought that if you were popping that shit off, you died. And like I said, I like that we tie it back to Rhaenys in the very beginning, saying, my cousin would have your tongue out for that. And then Daemon's like, no, you can keep that. It's everything else I'm going to take, bud. And you can tell later on in the episode that Rhaenys, even though her and the brother-in-law had their issues, you could tell that she's genuinely bothered at his death. Oh. But Aemond One Eye, like, gets off on it. That's when he first is like, there's a challenge. I like that. I'll try and go for Daemon. And like I said, we got the whole part. Oh, you're kicking a bone. I thought he was ripping it. I was like, dear God. But, yeah, no, this is when Aemond One Eye first focuses in on Uncle Daemon and is like, yeah, I can go for you. And like I said, these younger siblings, we really jack stuff up, don't we? We really mess stuff up. But I think they might have conflicting characteristics or similar ones, which cause conflict, is a better way to put it. I don't want to give anything away. Either way, this teenager's really getting off on head chopping. Because we're about to get to some shit that's right out the book. We're about to get some shit that I was tweeting. I was like, where's the pig? Where's the pig? And then when they gave us the pig, I was like, no way. So I was editing this video on the line at work, on the assembly line, and I was like, oh my God, I did so good. Until I realized I never finished recording. I think we cut off right at the pig, right? The pig was coming in. That's right out of the book. It's like, that's straight off the page. I'm just trying to figure out where we're at in the notes. All of them hanging out. And we get a real big reminder of like, remember when you guys were friends? Do you guys remember when you guys didn't let these guys get in between you and have... But I like the way they're handling that, because that could come off very like... That could come out as like played out. You know, you guys feel me? And it doesn't, because of how they handled the prophecy and how they handled... Rhaenyra bringing it up to her dad, and how they handled Alicent at the end. So I really like the way they're going, okay, both these women feel like they have a duty and a purpose to the promise they made to this dying king. They both think that they're the chosen one to keep all this together, which is the irony of them tearing it apart. Oh my God. I really loved this intimate dinner that they have. And like I said, Rhaenys doesn't come, and we get all types of stuff. But at first we get, which we never get in Game of Thrones, in this world, we never get like... family chilling and relaxing, and like we see Otto and Alicent, and he's like they make a point to show all of these people being very human for once and letting their guard down. And and the one thing that I was bothered by was when Rhaenyra stepped up first again. Like, this is the second time that she's done this and gone out of her way to be like, can we just agree to get along from now on? And then, like I said, the prophecy throws a wrench into that. Starts out very tense, but then it becomes this way more relaxed vibe. And like I was saying before, they do a very good job with especially the cousins and stuff, going like, yeah, let's do this polite shit talking back and forth, because I can't come across this table and punch you at Thanksgiving and upset everybody. But Viserys standing up, and I'm sorry for crying so much, when he stands up and takes his mask off, and it's super gross, and his eyeball's gone, and he says, if you're not going to do it for the crown, then do it for this old man. And I want you guys to see my face as I am now. Your grandfather, your dad, your husband, your brother, all of that stuff. I just want you to see me, not the king. And I want you to be my family right now. And I really loved all of that. That was really good. And I liked that they waited for Viserys to leave to start a kerfuffle. Once the pig gets dropped is when Aemond starts some shit. So, like, the king gets carried out because he just wanted to see his family one last time. And then the second he gets carried out, and I like the way that this almost felt like two separate episodes in a good way. Do you guys feel me? Where it's like, it's one of those episodes where you're like, oh, so much happened. But the second he gets taken out, and then the pig comes to the table, I just love that because it's right out of the book. And I'll put a picture of it up. But Aemond One Eye is like, let me make a toast to my cousins, okay? And he starts talking mad shit. But before that, we have Jace and Aegon. So Rhaenyra's oldest and Alicent's oldest are talking shit back and forth. Now, her son's the little raper, Alicent's, and Jace seems like a nice kid. Jace seems like a normal, nice kid who's just like, he seems like he has a temper on him, more so than his younger brother. And I liked when he was like, hey, yeah, shove it. And when he's like, oh, you'll finally get to be with a woman. And it's like, well, you are a rapey piece of shit. And then we have him go and ask Aegon's wife to dance. So it would be Jace's cousin / aunt, okay? Because that's Rhaenyra's half-sister. But either way, I don't want to make things too confusing. But Jace is like, okay, well then and I love that he said excuse me to his betrothed, to Daemon's daughter. I can't remember if it's Baela or Rhaena. I think it's Baela. But he's like, excuse me. And then he passes his cousin up and asks his wife to dance. And I really love that. And you could tell that Helena was like, and I liked her speech. That was funny. That was really funny when she was like, sometimes your husband will acknowledge you when he's drunk and being an ass. But other than that, you're just really bored by yourself. And I feel bad for Helena, like I said. But her and Jace dancing genuinely looked like we're having a good, fun time. And I liked that Viserys got to see that too before he left. But I also see what you're doing there with the Dance of Dragons. Literally. Oh, and I like that scene too before Viserys left when Jace stands up to fight. Like I said, he has a temper, but then he's like, make a toast to my cousins and yada, yada, yada. And I really liked that. And I liked when Viserys was like, good boy. And I really, that was sweet. I genuinely think Jace and Rhaenyra's kids are like, can we just be friends? Like, yeah, we had our little, I'm sorry that I took your eye out. Like, they seem genuinely like, we're sorry that we took your eyeball out, but also we saw you being a badass, so maybe we were intimidated by you. I don't know. Either way, they seem like he genuinely means it when he's like, I'm pissed, but almost like he's just reactionary. He's a 14 or 15-year-old boy, whatever. Like, they're teenage, like, it is what it is, you know? Every teenager, boy, girl, doesn't matter. You know how it is. They're like, oh, and then they're fine. But we get Aemond One Eye saying, I want to make a toast, and then he keeps calling them strong. And as if he's complimenting them. But the truth is, you're bringing up their real father's last name, and you're going, you're a bastard. Fuck off. That's what Aemond is doing. But before the kerfuffle got too big. Oh, Jace punched him right in the face? I liked that, but that's when you really got to see the crazy part of Aemond One Eye, and he's like, laughs a little bit. He doesn't swing back. He's just like, okay. But then Daddy Daemon walks into the frame, and is he the one who says, wait? He goes, wait. He just says that. And then he's looking at Aemond like, not now. But we already know what the deal is with me and you, buddy. And I did like Alicent at first, getting in between them and is like, Aemond, why would you do that right now? And I do think, is Aemond the youngest? I think it goes with Alicent's kids. And the reason I'm going to bring this up is because I'm the youngest. And if you're youngest, you already feel me. But we're the baby, you know? I know that there's more children, but Aemond is the youngest right now. So I think that she kind of has blinders on when it comes to him, more so than the others. And she's like, well, at least he just likes fighting in the yard, which would be a super normal thing back then. And you would just, it's like finding cigarettes in their pocket. You're going to pretend they're not theirs. They're their friends. You know what I mean? So I think that maybe Alicent is like, damn it, because it's like, Aemond, that was a pretty big thing you did. And then your cousin hit you. And Alicent was still like, why did you do that just now? Alicent with King Viserys, right before he passes. And I liked this, and I liked the way they handled it, because like I said, this could just come off as like, women are being schemy and got mad at each other. You know, it could come off that way, but it doesn't, and I liked that. And whether or not I like Alicent Hightower doesn't mean that I don't want these characters handled correctly, you feel me? So I was just like, yeah, no, I liked that they both have this purpose now, and think like, Alicent thinks this is about her son Aegon, and she's already pissed at him, but also protecting him, and I get that, but I still think he's a scumbag. And then we have, Rhaenyra, who thinks this is about her and her family, and it's like, no, you guys should have remembered that you're all one family. But now both of these women think they have this prophecy about their bloodline or whatever, you know what I'm saying? But either way, I really, really like this episode. Oh, and King Viserys' last words. Yeah, he says my love about Emma, however they pronounce it, his first wife, which is like, I like that, but it's also very, like I've been saying, Alicent is getting told that when she's a young woman, like barely even a woman, how her husband never wanted to have kids with her, and he's hammered drunk, and you're super knocked up out in the woods. I'd be so pissed. I said this to my mom. I was like, what is the perk of being queen if you're gonna get dragged out to the goddamn woods while you're 8 months pregnant? That sounds horrible. Sounds awful. Jesus. And then it's like, oh, you want to put me in a wheelhouse in the heat, in the woods with bugs and people I don't want to talk to? Odd. Sounds awful. Sounds terrible. Like, let her stay home at the Red Keep. Jesus Christ. I totally understand why she would have to be there. I'm just saying, what is the good of being queen if you can't even say, you want to know what, husband? I really don't want to go on this goddamn stupid hunting vacation. I would come if I was not out to here and not having you wasted at a fire telling me how you never wanted to have children with me and you never wanted to marry me and all this shit, and it sucks. So it's like, and throughout the series they've been showing Viserys looking at his old wedding band, and that really was the love of his life, but you killed her. And that comment, if you're over here, somebody left a comment and I loved it. It's on one of my reviews, but somebody said, fuck King Viserys, he killed her. And I was like, and I never have been able to get that out of my head every time I bring him and his first wife up, because I'm just like, they're not wrong. And I'm just like, no, that's accurate. So it's just like, that sticks out. But either way, no, YouTube Studio is so stupid. And if you have a YouTube channel, tell me. If you've gotten this far, tell me, because I hate YouTube Studio. It's a separate app, and I can't see threads. So say me and you are talking in the comments, and somebody else chimes in, it doesn't pop up and show me the thread on YouTube Studio. It just says like so-and-so commented. So sometimes I'm really thrown off, and then I can't find it again, depending if other people are commenting on other stuff. It's just a lot coming at you, especially when you're on the assembly line trying. I've made a conscious effort to be like, don't answer comments unless you're sitting down to answer comments. And so if I ever just like your comment, and then I'm probably going to come back later. But either way, I'm just like, that has always stuck out to me. Fuck King Viserys, he killed her. I think this is the first time that we've heard him. Did they establish that this was going to be that the prophecy had to do with the North? Or is that new? I think that might be new. But either way, we hear all about the prophecy again, and he thinks he's talking to, well, that's the thing too. Either way, there's a lot of factors that go in there, because I'm like, would you really be paying attention to the things he's saying right then? Would you really take them for serious? Would you be like, yeah, this makes sense? But then you might. I don't know. But I don't mind it after seeing it being handled not terribly with the prophecy. But at the same time, I'm like, but this blade ends up with a Stark. It was beautiful. The camera like came back, and we see Viserys, we see Alicent leave, and we see the knife. We see the blade that Arya kills the Night King with. And I really like that shot. It was really cool. And I get what you're saying there. But at the same time, I'm like, is that the irony? Is that this blade doesn't end up with any of you? Anyway, I'm sorry that this is so late. I'm sorry that I didn't get it out sooner. I'm sorry that I'm crying through half of it. But I'm Abby with Motor City Nerds. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Interview with a Vampire is so fucking good. Everybody needs to be watching that show. It's so good.